I almost forgot. I had the two grandsons babysitting yesterday. Cindy's out of town. So I had them and had other things that were going on. So, and then right at 7:28 and 30 seconds, I realized that they were in the office back here, because when I got here at 9 for a meeting, or trying to sit in a meeting that I had missed half of, that they were still sitting in there doing what they were supposed to do. Anyway, so they went down there and I come run back in here. So appreciate it. And let me just touch on, can I be an American soldier in the Lord's Army and serve faithfully and do this, that? And we're going to get into this as we're going on to, in what we've read so far in Israel's. Now, this Bible study will go on tangents. It's a Bible study because once you go, like I said, we're going to 185. Sometimes you got to get off at Cracker Barrel and get you a tasty treat. Of course, if you're riding with me, Miss Kathy, do we stop? No, you're going from point A to point, huh? No matter what. If you don't need gas, we don't stop. But anyway, we're going to make some little inroads. And an inroad or a little side, we're going to stop off at a rest area real quick before we get into the main thing this morning. Could women serve in Israel's army? Huh? Not today, when we read in Deuteronomy. No, remember they had to number the men that were 20 years of age or older. And why do you think, was it sexist to do that? Why do you think, well, it came light to me, and everybody's got a role, and I'm saying this if you're a mother right now and you've got little ones and you're going over here and you stay at home and or you do work and your husband's got to go here, or like on Sunday mornings I've got an 8 o'clock meeting, an 8:45 meeting, and all this other stuff. Who takes care of the kids? That's exactly right. Moms or the grandma does. And there's a reason when you can look back in them olden times and they say males, well, this is we ain't talking about the 21st century. We're talking about 3,000 years ago. If the dad's off to war or off at the tabernacle or doing something, who's with the kids? Mom is, all right? So it's a different mindset. And the reason I bring that up is because I forgot up until 28 and 30 seconds that I had two grandsons sitting back there, so I had to run back there and send them. And I passed another mother running, putting her stuff or her kids in class. But appreciate the parents that have little ones that I do know, because we do babysit from time to time. It seems like here recently it's been every weekend. I look at Aaron, he looks over at y'all, he's writing stuff down for babysitting purposes. But anyway, I appreciate that. But just to say that, one thing we're going to talk about with the Army requirements, we're going to finish up. I thought I was finished, but we've talked about newly married people planting a vineyard. They didn't have to go. If you were afraid, you didn't have to go. Rules for war. And then we're going to conclude in verses 9. We're in Deuteronomy chapter 20, and I'll read it and just throw this out here. This is one of them little Bible study thinking things. Verses 19 and 20. We've talked about these other things, utterly destroy this and utterly destroy that. And now 19 and 20. When you besiege a city for a long time while making war against it to take it, you shall not destroy its trees by wielding an axe against them. If you can eat of them, do not cut them down to use in the siege, for the tree of the field is man's food. Only the trees which you know are not trees for food you may destroy and cut down to build siege works against the city that make war with you until it's subdued. First several times I said, that's weird. We're talking about utterly destroying the Amalekites and the Hittites. And all of a sudden he's got what is that word for now? Eco-friendly, save the planet. And he's talking about trees. Why in the world do you think he's talking about trees? Okay, the ones that bore fruit. Why couldn't they cut down the ones that bear fruit too? Okay, because it's food. Remember, back in those days, there wasn't a 7-Eleven or a Spectrum or whatever that you could go in there, Piggly Wiggly's, down home or whatever the little saying is. They couldn't run in there and pick anything up. And if you're an army and you're going to siege a city, like Jerusalem was in 70 A.D., Well, the Romans did cut everything down because they didn't care because they hated Israel. But Abraham, when he went and Israel did that, they still had to, once they conquered the city, they still had to inhabit it, make it useful, because land isn't much worth anything if you still can't grow the trees and all that other stuff. So just interesting that they were eco-friendly way back in the time. And just another footnote, olive trees. There's a lot of olive trees in Israel. What was the Garden of Gethsemane? What was another name for the Garden of Gethsemane? The Mount of Olives. All right, it was there and saw olive trees. You know how long olive trees can live? I think the oldest one living recorded right now is 2,000 years old. There's some that are 15. The average length of lifespan of an olive tree is 400 to 500 years. All right, when we went there to Jerusalem and we were in the Garden of Gethsemane and the people said, this is the garden, these are the trees that were there. The Romans went in and cut down all them olive trees. But olive tree has a unique feature that if you cut it down to the trunk, and as long as the roots are viable and they'll still go, they'll sprout up another tree. And that came from the trees that are there presently, I believe, came from there. So they're from 70 AD, so however old those trees are, 1,500, 2,000 years old. So just an interesting note on that. At least I thought so anyway. All right. Leadership in Joshua. Nathan talked about Joshua and leadership last week, unbeknownst to me, and he didn't know I was talking about Joshua and leadership. Is leadership important? Joshua's going to take leadership. Who was the leader of the Israelites before Joshua? Moses. And this is basic stuff. Do you remember what the scripture said? Well, let's go ahead. I'm going to read this, and I'm going to do it very quickly. Deuteronomy chapter 31. And let me put this in perspective for all you Alabama fans. The Ohio State. See how when you say the right things, it just flows. Alabama got a new coach. Y'all happy with that new coach? Huh? Right now because they won? You wasn't too happy with him on that first game of the year, was you? Does a leader mean something? What I'm trying to do is take something in the 21st century today to sort of tie in Joshua and Moses. All you Alabama diehards, could anybody replace Bear Bryant? Did Nick Saban replace Bear Bryant? He was good, though. What about those in between? You know, most of you, unless you're diehard, you don't even know who we're talking about. Was pretty good. Huh? He won a championship. All right, so hopefully you see the point I'm talking about. Moses was a great man. We're going to read about Moses, and we're going to read this. Originally I hadn't planned to, but I want you to see what a predicament. I don't even know the coach's name that came after Nick Saban. What's that guy's name? DeVore? Who cares? But y'all know who I'm talking about, right? All right, you've got to grow into it. So just think about all the skeptics, and y'all are skeptics out here. All you Alabama, I know you are, or were, or still are, or the jury's still out. Moses, we're going to talk about Moses and giving the leadership over to Joshua. Deuteronomy chapter 31, verses 1 through 5. You can follow in because I'm going to be jumping around. I'm going to read pretty quick. Then Moses went and spoke these words to all of Israel. And he said to them, I am 120 years old today. I can no longer go out and come in. Also the Lord has said to me, you shall not cross over this Jordan. Y'all remember why he couldn't go into the promised land? Thinking question. The Lord your God himself crosses over before you. He will destroy these nations from before you, and you shall dispossess them. Joshua himself crosses over before you, just as the Lord has said. And the Lord will do to them as he did to Sihon and Og, the kings of the Amorites, in their land when he destroyed them. Then the Lord will give them over to you, that you may do to them according to every commandment which I have commanded you. Who's going to give the Israelites victory? Moses, Joshua, and God. All right, let's skip to verse 7. Then Moses called Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, be strong and of good courage, for you must go with this people to the land which the Lord has sworn to their fathers to give them, and you shall cause them to inherit it. And the Lord is the one who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you, nor forsake you, nor fear, nor be dismayed. So Moses wrote this law and delivered it to the priests, the sons of Levi, who bore the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and all the elders of Israel. Just a quick question. In verse 7, then Moses called Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel. Why do you think Moses called him in the sight of all Israel? What does that mean, in the sight of all Israel? He had everybody there. Why was it important to say that to Joshua in front of everybody? We're going to think humanly now. Was Moses a great man? A great leader? When you have the great leader saying this about his successor, does that mean something? And you better listen. All right. Verse 14, then the Lord said to Moses, behold, the days approach when you must die. Call Joshua and present yourselves in the tabernacle of meeting, that I may inaugurate him. So Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of the meeting. We're going to skip down to verse 23. Then he inaugurated Joshua, the son of Nun, and said, be strong and of good courage, for you shall bring the children of Israel into the land of which I swore to them, and I will be with you. So it was when Moses had completed the writing the words of the law in a book, when they were finished, that Moses commanded the Levites who bore the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, take this book of the law and put it aside the ark and covenant of the Lord your God, and it may be there as a witness against you. All right, another little off-ramp. He talks about, in verse 26, take this book of the law. In verse 24, it says, so Moses had completed writing the words of the law. What is he talking about there? What laws is he talking about in verse 24, and then he completed it? What's he talking about? Huh? The 10 Commandments? Is that all?
Did he also write in that book about where they were going to live? He had to divide the land.
Divide the land? What book was that? I'm not needing to put anybody on the spot. Y'all are right, but this is one of them thinking questions that you don't know, that you never thought of, and then when you see this, you think that some of this stuff, I thought, let me just say y'all thought, I thought this stuff just happened, but the stuff is right there. What, do the Jews have a Bible today? They have a Torah, see? What books are in the Torah? First 5 books, which are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Who wrote those 5 books? He's telling you that's the law, and that's why those are sacred in the Torah, in the scrolls. That's why they keep it separate from everything else. If you've ever thought about that. All right? But how did he write it? So we're seeing right here that as Moses is wandering or up here and he's up to 120 years old, he's been writing this stuff down. All right? And presenting the law, because the Torah as they know it is not fully complete yet. Because he's still writing it. Everybody with me? Just an interesting fact. Now then, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 34. Yeah, Deuteronomy 34. Moses dies. Then Moses went up from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo to the top of Pisgah, which is across from Jericho. And the Lord showed him all the land of Gilead as far as Dan. All Naphtali, the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah as far as the western sea. The south and the plain of the valley of Jericho, the city of palm trees as far as Zor. Then the Lord said to him, this is to Moses, this is the land of which I swore to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants. I have caused you to see it with your eyes, but you shall not cross over there. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. And he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, opposite Beth Peor, but no one knows his grave to this day. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes were not dim, nor his natural vigor diminished. And the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses ended. Now Joshua, the son of Nun, was full of the spirit of wisdom. For Moses had laid his hands on him, so the children of Israel heeded him and did as the Lord had commanded Moses. But since then, and listen to this is what Nathan emphasized, and this tells you about Moses. But since then there was not arisen in Israel a prophet like Moses, who the Lord knew face to face. And all the signs and wonders which the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt before Pharaoh, before all his servants, and in all his land, and by all that mighty power and all the great terror which Moses performed in the sight of all Israel. A couple little nuggets in there that I'm going to bring out. If Moses wrote Deuteronomy, and that was the completion of the Torah, who wrote chapter 34? Does anybody care? That's just one of them weird things. Some think that it was Joshua, because the very next book is what? The book of Joshua. All right. Now, here's something interesting. I think is interesting. If you don't know, it may be. In verse 6, so Moses died, and in verse 6, and he buried him in a valley in the land of Morah, opposite Beth Peor, and no one knows his grave to this day. Who buried Moses? God did. Why did God bury him and nobody knows where his grave is? Huh? Use it as a worshiping place. And set their sights not so much, although their intent is to God, but they'd have set Moses higher than what he was. All right, everybody with me on that? Is Moses' death ever mentioned again in the Bible? Let's go to Jude. It's that little bitty book right before Revelation. And this is the only reference. And it's weird how stuff validates the Old Testament, something written 3,000 years, 2,000 years before, how this stuff validates, if I can remember what verse it was. Jude verse 9. Yet Michael the archangel, in contending with the devil, which he disputed about the body of Moses, dared not bring against him a reviling accusation, but said, the Lord rebuke you. So Satan and Michael, the archangel, were in a dispute. Why do you think Satan cared where Moses' body was? Use it against the Christians that followed him? In what way? If you thought about it. Go ahead, and I'll get you. Do what, Raymond? If God didn't want anybody to know, then why would he know?
That's what I feel. God didn't want the devil to know, and so if God didn't want some, the devil ain't going to find.
All right. And did Michael continue, the archangel, did he continue on? He more or less said no, it wasn't for him to do. So he just left it alone because it's God's will. Just interesting facts. Another little thing. How many angels are specifically mentioned in the Bible? Their names? I don't want any answers. All right, let's go to the book of Joshua. Who? Well, he is, but I'm talking about his death and his body. All right, let's go to the book of Joshua. Chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spoke to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' assistant, saying, Moses' assistant, remember it's not Moses. Verse 2, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people in the land which I am giving to them, the children of Israel. All right, let's go to verse 10 and 11. Then Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, Pass through the camp and command the people, saying, Prepare provisions for yourselves, for within 3 days you will cross over this Jordan to go and possess the land which the Lord your God is giving you to possess. Is leadership important?
Yes, I think so, because, if you, which that's what that tech show is trying to get. And our military again is, and by being a strong leader, others are going to follow. And also, I think it makes them stronger too.
Okay.
Is that right?
It's yeah. Is leadership politics? It can be. Are some people born leaders? With the ability that sometimes has to be. Was Michael Jordan the superstar in high school? If you read about it, no, he wasn't. He had to work on it and became a superstar, had the ability and the talent. All right? Leadership is probably that same way.
And if you're a leader, you should be honest, and a lot of them are not.
That's a politician. She said if you're a leader, you should be honest. Huh? Yeah. He did. Still developing and climbing. Josh Pate, he's a sports guy on the internet. He's got a talk show and all that other good stuff. Well, all of us, I think, and this is one of these little roads that we're taking. This is exactly what I want. Do all of us have talents or abilities? Different kinds. Do we all recognize the abilities and the talents that we have? Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't or won't. This one's a little bit easier on the won't. I'm going to come back to you. When you say you can't, what do you, can you explain your answer on you can't? If you can't, that's fine. Because I like the answers, but if you and I hit you, if you say that's fine. You said won't. You said won't. Ha ha. Yeah, she speaks. What can you want to say why they won't?
Maybe they don't like that particular talent. They want something else.
Maybe they don't like that particular talent. They want something else. Okay.
Or they may not want people to know it either because they don't like it,
That's an interesting concept, won't. Anybody else you got a talent that you don't want to? I'm sorry? Okay. Outside influence, which would be, or you don't want to. He gives people a bit, no, but then how come we don't want to realize some of our talents if we've got, huh? All right. Okay.
And sometimes it's laziness too.
Laziness.
Yeah. I mean, suppose.
You've been talking to Sweetness again.
Suppose, like you're a wonderful cook, but you don't want to share that knowledge because you don't want somebody to be dependent on you.
Okay. Well, I was thinking laziness and another that you don't do it because somebody will ask you to cook one of those fabulous meals.
Yes, that's what I'm.
Okay, that's what you're saying? All right. You're not like that.
I enjoy cooking.
But we probably all have abilities. Sometimes we don't bring it out for whatever reason.
Moses, like you said, he was a great leader, but he had a disability. His brother Aaron spoke with him, spoke for him.
Moses and Aaron.
Aaron was the one that did the talking.
You know, that's an interesting thing, and we're going to take another little side road. Do y'all think Moses really had a speaking disability? Or was that an excuse to not get God that he had to go back? Because remember, who was Moses before the time that he was drawn out of the river to the time that he had to get his brother Aaron, or God said, your brother Aaron will go? Who was Moses before then? A prince. Was Moses schooled? Do you think he was a smart man? I know he was smart because I watched the Ten Commandments and he's building that stuff, all right? So did you think, Andrew?
To this point, where in the Bible do you hear Aaron step in and start preaching on behalf of Moses?
Well, we were going there. Well, that's a good point. Say that a little bit louder.
I said, where in the Bible do you see Aaron step in to preach on behalf of Moses?
I don't think you do you? Because when he goes up for them plagues, who's talking? So there was a talent or an ability there that he was afraid of and didn't want to expose. And God, what do you call it when you bust people out? Is that what you say, bust people out? Huh? He said, look, you got an excuse? Your brother, he'll go up there with you. Then what's Moses going to say then? He couldn't say anything. All right? So sometimes our abilities, our talents are there. What is the definition of leadership?
Knowing the best way to lead people in the safest way if you're in battle.
Okay.
They have to really, study and learn situations so that they can protect their.
Okay.
To make you do things without you knowing it.
Do what?
To make you do things without you knowing it.
Oh, okay. Textbook, or what I was always taught in the military and the Army, the ability to influence others to accomplish a mission. Same, that's what we've all been saying. Does, well, that's a whole nother.
And I don't know if it's true, but walking down that street, that Japanese zero,
And he's shooting his little.
hitting them things all around him, he got his pistol shooting at it.
When the Israelites went into battle, y'all remember that battle when they started losing and God put Moses' hands up? And all the people would look up and see, and he brought his hands down, and what started happening? But Moses was on a high point. Why do you think he was on a high point? So that everybody could see him and be inspired. Because leadership, part of leadership is being on the front in the battlefield and not in the back in the warm coziness.
Or at home in your house looking at back you.
And we're going to talk about why do men do things and why do women do things. And not that particular story. We're not going to talk about David. We're going to talk about somebody else in that particular situation. But why men and women are different. But the ability to influence people to do something. Can you tell a godly leader from a worldly leader? Can you tell somebody that trying to be a godly leader but really isn't? Well, let's talk about this.
Well, sometimes I guess they're fake,
They're what? They're fake?
They're trying to make you believe something that, perceive them as one thing, but they're actually
Okay.
another.
And that's a leader. They're trying to get you to do this, and they're actually over here. We're talking about godly now. Religious leaders. Do religious leaders have power? Huh?
They have God behind them.
Okay. Now, I'm throwing you a curveball in here. Does what we think of God the same as what other religions think of God? Do religious leaders have power? Does the Pope have power? Look at the Middle Ages. Today, are there any religious leaders that have power?
They can have power over people.
They have power over people. I'm sorry?
I just think of that verse, all power in heaven and earth.
All power. We're going to get to the all power in heaven. But we're talking about right here, October 4th, 2025. Are there any religious leaders in the world today?
Yes, it's just not the leadership ability wasn't given by Almighty God.
Well, they say it was by a God. Huh?
Charlie Kirk was a leader.
Okay, he was a leader. I'm talking about a world leader now. I'm talking about a nation. Okay, we're going there. Iran. Is he a religious leader? Or is he a leader? Does religion control Iran? What happens if you go to Iran and you say, Muhammad's a fraud, Jesus is the true and one true God? What's going to happen? You think they'll kill you? All right. So power and leadership can be positive and it can be negative. But a lot of leaders do it in the name of religion, don't they? What were the Crusades about? Religion. It was who against who? The Christians against the Muslims. And does that affect their country? Did you watch another Mel Gibson? Freedom. Braveheart. No, okay, that was one. That's not the one I'm thinking about. Robin Hood with Errol Flynn. Do y'all know who Errol Flynn was? Shannon is sitting there saying, please don't call on me. I don't know who he was. Have y'all seen the movie Robin Hood? If you don't, it's a great old swashbuckler, great movie. But in that movie, if you know, Robin Hood is fighting against tyranny. The king's brother takes over and is killing people and all this other stuff. And in that movie, towards the middle, the king comes back and he doesn't know it. Robin doesn't know it. And he says, his brother's killing all the people. He had never met the king, so he didn't know what he looked like. And said, no, we're doing this, and he's upright. We want the king. So, you blame my brother. And he says, no, I blame King Richard. And that's who he was talking to. Because he shouldn't have been out gallivanting across the world when he's got his affairs at home that need taken care of. So I guess as a leader, do you have to make sure that your affairs are taken care of before you try to square away somebody else's? That's what Deuteronomy says to some extent. Mm-hmm. So I'm going off on a lot of stuff. Did Joshua have a formidable task taking over for Moses? All right, and also during this time, did the Israelites, do y'all know how big they were at this time? 1 million-ish. Did they have a king at this time? What was their hierarchy? Tribal leaders, we talked about that. Moses to the 12 tribes, to whoever it was that they designated. All right? Formal/informal. And he talks about getting them in groups of 110 and whatever. But it takes something. I guess the point I'm trying to make is Joshua stepped in.
One point to point out, because we always seem to skip over this part when we talk about this period of time in Israel
Because Moses' father-in-law told him, you're going to kill yourself listening to all these people, right? All right, so let's talk about leadership specifically based off of that at Rose Hill. Do we have any leadership here at Rose Hill? What is the whatever you want to call it, the designation? What are their titles? Deacons, elders, and the pastor/preacher. Are all three of those leadership positions? Is a preacher a leader?
I think all three of them are, just like Sunday school attendants, that the ladies are men
All,
help all the
okay.
children and stuff.
All three are, because Moses' father-in-law said you can't do all that. Can the elders go around and take attendance right now? And they're teaching? Can they do the curriculum? Can they make sure all the lights and stuff are on? Do we have other people that we can spread that out for?
Yes, and all of them are
Leaders in their own way, using hopefully abilities or talents that they may be blessed for to do something in a particular way.
And, everybody works together, even our church.
Everybody works together? Okay.
I mean, that's what God wants.
That's what God wants. All right. We were going to talk about traits of a good leader. I don't know. I'm going to do this. Have you ever heard this? Y'all know who Machiavelli is? It is better to be feared than, it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. He's talking in relationship to a leader. What's he mean there? If you're a leader, do all leaders want to be loved? Most leaders do, but you're right, some could care less. Sometimes they don't last that long.
But if they're loved, then I think they lead better. I've worked for people before that are atrocious as a leader within the business. I myself would rather follow somebody that I am not afraid of.
Okay, somebody that you're not afraid of. Well, how do we put that in perspective? Let's put it in perspective. Well, it's a different, but we're talking about leaders. We're not talking about the respect. We're talking about feared. We're talking about, say another word.
Well, you're scared of it.
Well, and you said something that you want to talk about. Miss Lauren, I'm trying to take care of him. Are the elders feared?
Not in that way.
Do some people want to come talk to elders? Do some people don't?
Some people are
Shy about sharing their emotions, but there's some people, you didn't talk to an elder back in the 50s or 60s, at least in my church, I think, growing up. Of course, I had pretty good elders growing up.
Another thing is some people might feel like they're going to be judged.
They're going to be judged? Because if you come, that's right, because you come to the elders, you say something, you're going to be judged.
No, some people may feel that way.
No, that's what I'm saying. Do people feel that way?
Some may feel intimidated.
John, don't use that negative context. We're going to talk about this afterwards. Are there leaders that you go to the principal's office? Does anybody want to go to the principal's office? Jennifer, when you was a teacher, did you want to send anybody to the principal's office? Did you want to get called to, as a teacher, did you want to get called to the principal's office? No. Why? Should leadership be that way? Is there a time and place to be loved, to be feared?
Well, if you're on a deadline, I can see
There, for the most part, when I was, when I was, I don't know if I got enough time. All right. But are there leaders that would you go to the Ayatollah in Iran and ask to distribute Bibles? Huh? No, because it'll probably cost you your life. But should you be able to the elders here at Rose Hill, should you be able to come and have a discussion with the elders and not, they're going to chastise me? Now, having said that, yes, sir. All right, and they give you one direction. A direction that they may give you, is that the direction that you want to go? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But if you ever ask somebody for advice, hey, Dad, can I have some ice cream? No. Lacey's not around, so what's he going to do? Mom, can I have some ice cream? Dad said it was okay. Or he didn't even say that. Do we shop around? Sometimes you ask for advice. Be careful when you ask for advice because you might get it. And it is always what it is. But a leader wants to be loved, and we'll put it, well, saved by the bell. Thank you for your time.